That's better. What's going on, you guys? So as you guys probably know, when Top Gun Maverick first came out way back in July, I put out a review for it, and it was like after I'd been off YouTube for a while, it was my first big review coming back. I was really excited for it. This is one of my most anticipated movies of this year, and during that review, I gave the movie a 9 out of 10 and said it was a very good film. With that said, I have gone back and I have seen Top Gun Maverick again and again and one more time. That adds up all my viewings of this movie up to 4 times now. And after seeing it that many times, my opinion has changed. And not for the worse, but for the better. Top Gun Maverick is, in my opinion, beyond any shadow of a doubt, and any close competition, one of the best films ever made in the history of cinema. And that's not an exaggeration, that's not my bias coming through. That, to me, is just objectively true. This film is phenomenal, and it is flawless. There is nothing really wrong with this movie. Even some of the issues I pointed out in my original review, while some of them still exist, I think very few actually hold up, because on second, third, and fourth viewing, you begin to realize why certain things are the way they are. And I essentially want to take this just to go back, correct some of my mistakes, and say, no, I was wrong. This movie is basically flawless, and just praise everything about it in a more in-depth review. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm going to talk in-depth spoilers about this movie, so if you haven't seen Top Gun Maverick, please, I don't know what you're doing, go see it, come back, watch this. You can even watch my spoiler-free review, which is my original one, but this is going to be spoiler-filled, so if you don't want this movie ruined for you, I really think you shouldn't. You've been warned. With that said, let's get right into talking about Top Gun Maverick. Right off the bat, the obvious thing that even I said in my original review is this better than the original Top Gun? Yes. And I think that's for obvious reasons. Top Gun is a product of its time. It is a 1980s film, and I love it to pieces. I bought the Blu-ray for it, and I love that movie. It's something that's very special. I think there's a lot of history I have with this movie that makes this movie very special to me, and the original. Sometime I'll get into that with you guys, maybe, but, right now I just want to focus on this. And that is that this movie is an improvement over it because it is genuinely a phenomenal film. And this movie doesn't piggyback on nostalgia and on big sequences that remind you of other things that, like, other films oftentimes do. Jurassic World Dominion, I think, is an example of this. Kind of relies more on the past than it does its own new narrative. This movie does have callbacks. It has, like, the football scene on the beach, which is kind of reminiscent of the volleyball scene. And it has certain, things that take place and happen that are similar to the original, but it doesn't necessarily have to use those in order to make this movie good. This movie stands on its own 2 feet very well. Something I was very, very impressed by in this movie is never once, this made me very happy, do they say in this movie, I feel the need for speed. And that was something I was hoping they wouldn't do. I was hoping they weren't going to say that line, because I was like, that's a classic line, you don't need to go back and say that in this movie. And it doesn't. And it's so smart in doing it. It invents its own lines. There's a line of, I don't like that look, Mav, and then Mav will reply, it's the only look I got. They have their own things that take place in this movie, which are new. And this movie does everything exceedingly well and surpasses everything. So here's basically the plot of the movie. Maverick is basically, there are so many people in the Navy who want him gone at this point. He has pissed off so many people, he's a pain in the ass, everyone can't stand him. And they want to ground him, but Iceman, Kazansky, from the original, he's now an admiral. And he keeps Maverick in because he knows there's something special Maverick has for the Navy. But they're telling him, the future's coming. We're not going to have pilots. It's all going to be automated. We don't need you. But he gets called back to Top Gun because he needs to train these pilots for a special mission. Now, Maverick's all down about this. He's like, he wants to fly this mission, but he can't. And along the way, Goose, who's his son, Rooster, is here. And Rooster has not forgiven Maverick because, one, Maverick was in that plane when his father died. And he kind of holds Maverick responsible for that. And also, Maverick, at the request of Goose's wife, his widow, and Rooster's mom, said, pull his papers to the academy, don't let him go through, I don't want him dying too. So Mav did that, and he's trying to be this father to him, but Rooster now resents him for that. And this creates tension, and Hangman, who's this one guy, he's kind of the new Iceman, he's this cocky guy, and things like that. He begins to pick up on this, and so does everyone else. But this leads into brilliant conflict, and it expands on something that's just so, this kid that they had in the original movie, and they expand on this so well. And the emotion is amazing the way they just do it throughout the rest of this movie. This whole movie is essentially Maverick confronting his past. He meets an old flame of his. He realizes he's getting older, but he is still relevant. Maverick is not some old guy in this movie who can't do anything. He's relevant, and he's awesome, and he proves that this mission they say is unflyable the way he wants to teach it. He goes against everyone's orders, like John Hamm's the commander, goes against his orders, and he flies it and shows everyone. And I love this scene where after he finishes, Hangman just stands there, and Hangman, who's arrogant and conceited, just sits there and he goes, damn. And just with that, you're like, he's earned their respect. This movie, I literally think every scene is one of three things. One, the scene is so tense, you're just sitting there gripping your seat. Two, it is so epic, and you're just sitting there like, yeah! Or three, it's so emotional and heartfelt, you're just sitting there just... And it's hitting you right there. This movie emotionally connected with me on a level I've never had with many films before. Something else I want to talk about, the practical use of effects in this movie, of actually training these actors of how to fly their planes, and then actually having these stunt sequences performed, pays completely off. The action in this movie is jaw-dropping. It is gorgeous. It is riveting, and you feel the fear, the tension, the anxiety, because those are real people in real planes flying that. That's not some CGI airplane. I mean, sure, the CGI explosions are actually going to blow up things near these planes, but they do so much practically, and seeing people actually do that, and you can see it in their faces, like being pressed from the wind, it's amazing. All the characters in here are great. No one's just got a niche. Everyone is just fun. Hondo, who's his new friend in here, is just great, and I love him. His romantic interest in here, Penny, is just... She's great. She's what Maverick needed, and she's even better than the original girl that they had in Top Gun. She's the girl I could see Mav settling down with. This seems like someone he could marry, and he'll be happy with, and even tells her, he's like, I'm not going to leave you anymore. And no, Maverick does not die in this movie, despite the fact they try to make you think he does, and he almost does before Rooster saves him. And there's this great scene where Rooster and him, they've already reconciled, and then they work together to get out enemy territory. Because essentially what happens is, in this movie, he gets the team together. We have to blow up this base. And they go out, and so basically you have to fly in this canyon, but you can't go above 200 feet altitude. You're winding through these canyons and stuff like this, and people have almost been killed in practice doing this. So they get it right, and then you just go straight up, and it's going to be like pressure and you can pass out. So they get out, but then you're immediately going to be attacked, and they get attacked by the enemy, and Mav protects Rooster, and he gets shot down, but Rooster goes back for him, because he even tells him that's what my father would have done. And they end up stranded in Russia. Well, it's not really Russia. They don't say Russia in the movie. It's like they get stranded in bad guy land, and they have to get back. And they have to use this old fighter plane. And there's great comedy and action takes place. And they get into this fight with this old plane versus these new planes, and it's great. And then right when it seems like Maverick's taking a whole bunch of these, but they're out of equipment at this point. They're out of all their stuff. They're about to die essentially, and they're just resolved. They're like, we're ready. The guy goes to kill him, but then Hangman, who's been like the antagonist in here, he blows it up and he saves them. And as Mav's coming back, he does a flyby like in the original. And it was just awesome. And every time I saw it in the theater, the crowd was just like, whoa! It was great. This film is just something that I can't get enough of. This is something that I can't believe exists, is as good as it is. I mean, who even thought we needed a Top Gun sequel? But here we are having it, and it's clearly one of the best films ever made. I'm so excited for what's going on with this movie. The fact that it's still, when the last time I went to see it, which was just a few days ago, and our theater is just about to finish showing it, the theater was still packed. I had to sit on the floor, and my brother and my sister, who I went with, had to sit in the seats that were not being used for handicap because there were no seats left. It's still packed because this movie is just that great. This movie is phenomenal. I can't say enough about this movie. It's good. Everyone here is excellent. The performances are amazing. The script is amazing. The cinematography is awesome. And the music, oh my God, is a thing to behold. And the songs are just as good. Nothing about this movie doesn't work for me. I know in my heart that this movie will always be special. And this could potentially, honestly, become one of my favorite movies in top 10 material. Right now it's probably top 25. This thing could easily go higher. I love it. I just can't believe that this movie actually exists. And it's made so well with so much respect. And I think a lot of this has to do with Tom Cruise getting so much control back. Man, does it pay off. My original rating I gave this was 9 out of 10. I'm going to change that. My new rating is Top Gun Maverick is a perfect 10 out of 10. In my opinion, this movie is the best film we'll have all year. Unless someone can prove me wrong in the future with a film that comes out, maybe I'll see it and be like, I was wrong. That's right now, this is it. This is as good as we're gonna get. So thank you guys as always so much for watching. I appreciate you. I'll see y'all next time.